By the time they got through their class, they were still crying and had been that deeply convicted. The principal called and said, would you consider sending John back to school? And we said, yeah, we think we will. So John went to school the next day, and the whole time I'm just praying, I'm just like, Lord, just please, just let him be okay. And I mean, it felt like sending him into a jungle with like wild animals. I mean, it's like, I hope you're okay. With no weapons, nothing but the Lord's protection. Well, he came, the end of school, he comes running to the van. He's got this big smile on his face. And he said, Mom, you know how I didn't have any friends yesterday? I said, yeah. And he goes, well, everybody wants to be my best friend today.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's good.
And I want to say something real quick because, we often don't hear from God, right? I mean, we hear from him,
Sure.
but we don't hear from him
Sure.
right when we're asking the question, But I heard from God on this situation. I was tucking John into bed, and I was, praising God that he worked this amazing thing. And I heard God speak to me, and he said, Rene, the reason I didn't move sooner, and the reason that I didn't handle this with each individual kid is because I wanted John to see something big. I wanted him to see me move, and if I had handled this in small ways, he would have missed my hand in it. And I probably would have too.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Well, what would you say then, Rene, maybe to, because the fact is, I mean, when I heard this story, I know kids, when I think kids, little kids, younger than even these kids are mean, right? They just are. But I love you guys. I love you to death. I was there. Youth are unbelievably mean also. We are, man. You guys are totally, this group, you don't even mean to sometimes, but you say some of the toughest, hardest, meanest things ever to people. You don't even mean to sometimes, but you just say it. And so, just because of sheer common sense, I think, there's clearly people, even out here, that are probably in almost the same situation John's in, like maybe daily. Like, what does that person do? You know what I mean? It's like,
right.
I don't know, what's her name again, Mrs.
Carmen.
I don't know if Mrs. Carmen's going to show up for everybody. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just like, what do you do if it's just like, because it seems like it can last forever.
Yeah, it did last forever for me.
Yeah.
My whole childhood with Ryan.
Sure.
I'm still dealing with a little bitterness there, but well, I think there is some things, and I want to really speak to you. I want to say two things, well, several things. You saw how hard it was for me to even say what was said to my kid. Like, I would probably choke up about that when he's 20 years old, right? When you say things about other people, it grieves the Lord even more than it grieves me. I'm a mom, and I love my kid. I'd do anything. I would have given every limb I have for him not to go through that. It grieves the Father. And just like in this book, where their private conversations are made public, every word we speak will be held accountable for in heaven. So I know sometimes it's like worth a laugh. You think, man, this would be hilarious to say just to get a laugh. But remember that you're slicing through somebody's soul and that you can alter their life forever. If you are being bullied, especially verbally, I want you to remember a few things. First of all, it's not truth. And you will learn this. You may not believe it now, but you will learn it when you're an adult. What comes out of somebody else's mouth is what they believe about themselves. So if somebody's calling you a loser, it's because they think they're a loser. And it's the absolute truth. They are trying to knock you down to build themselves up because they feel like a loser. So remember that. What's spoken about you isn't the absolute truth. And Satan's going to come in and he's going to tell you, yeah, it's true. And you gotta really pray about that and make sure that you bring it to the Lord. Second, you should tell an adult. They are wise, we are wise, and we can help you through it. If you're being verbally bullied, tell an adult. Third, I would pray this prayer. I'd say, Lord, my reputation is yours, and I'm going to give it to you to protect. And trust that God is able to do that for you.
It's good. I think probably, and you just said that, I think that what I definitely want us to make sure we really get is like, I don't have kids, and so I can't imagine what it's like. I mean, I can think about my wife, who I love. It's probably different, I think, even with a kid, like to think the way, and the way you explained it, even tonight at the women's conference, you clearly, and even Sean, man, I can remember Sean coming up that week, literally devastated, just about the way he felt. And my only option was, I said, I don't know about myself, but me and you together, I bet we can whip a lot of fourth graders.
Yeah,
I mean, I feel like we could probably take a lot of fourth graders. But I think probably 19 of them with both of us. And so that's the only thing I can think of. But I just saw how tore up he was, and I saw you. And when I watched you give that talk at the women's conference, it just came so real to me, like what you just said, just about how that makes God feel. You know what I mean? Like, just like, sometimes it's hard to understand that the creator of the universe, the guy that created and put everything in motion, is your heavenly Father. And loves you individually like there's no tomorrow. I mean, he loves everything about you. And I just see, on a human level, the Sean and Rene, how devastating it was to see their son hurt. And so I don't know, it puts it in perspective to me on the flip side of when I'm going to say something to somebody else, to look at it more like I'm not just saying this to Bob. I'm not just saying this to Stacy. I'm saying this to God's kid. You know what I mean? Like, the fact of the matter is, especially if we both were up there, Sean, those little punk kids wouldn't have said that if we were there. You know what I mean? Like, if the enforcement was there, you know what I mean? They wouldn't have. And so it makes sense to me, understanding how hurtful things are. Just imagine, man, the Heavenly Father, He's there. You know what I mean? And if you saw a picture of Christ next to His kid, the way He holds us and takes care of us, man, I think we would watch a whole lot more what we say to people, probably.
I think so too. And I want to encourage you too. You know, John got out of bed and walked into that classroom. And I think we can have that same courage. When you're going to be battered in your lifetime with words. It's just going to happen. If it's not now, it's later. You know, it's going to happen at some point. And I want to encourage you to keep your heart open. You know, John went back in. He forgave all those kids. You know, they were high-fiving and everything. And you know, that's the heart of a fourth grader. And I know it's harder when the older you get. But I would encourage you to not close off your heart, but just allow God to heal it.
That's good. Great. Let's guys give Rene a big round of applause.